Okay, welcome back. We're in Module 5 and we're going to wrap it up with Section 6 where we'll talk a little bit about printing your workbooks. When you go to print your workbook, you're not always going to want to print everything that's in the workbook. Sometimes you want to print just one sheet. Sometimes you want to print just a particular section on that sheet. I want to go through and show you all the options that you have when you're printing your workbooks. When you get ready to print anything, you can go up and use the print that happens to be here on your icon bar, but if you really want all the choices, I suggest you go through the File tab and go into the Backstage view and print that way. When you click on the File tab, you're going to see an option that says Print about halfway down right here. And you're going to have lots of options when you're printing. The first thing I want to point out is this is where your print preview is, and you'll be able to go back and forth between the pages. Down at the very bottom it'll say page 1 of 2 in this case, and you can use the arrows to go back and forth to see how it's going to print. If you remember all those page setup options that we looked at in section 4, you can get to those in here as well. First of all, if I happen to click page setup right here, this screen will look familiar because we went through all of these options. A lot of these are in the page setup, but let me go back through those with you. First of all, here's your custom scaling. This is where we just went through in section 5 and talked about getting it on one page, and we adjusted the scaling to do that. You can set your custom margins here. We saw this earlier, and if we didn't like any of these, we could go to the custom margins and change it that way. The next thing is the paper size. Probably you want 8.5 by 11, but if you wanted to change it, then here's that option. You can turn the paper from portrait to landscape here. Now here's something you haven't seen yet, collated. Collated basically means that if you wanted 10 copies of this, it would print page 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 10 times. If it's uncollated, it's going to print all of page 1, then it'll print all of page 2. Here you can print one-sided, or if you have a printer that you can print on both sides, you can go ahead and flip the pages and you can print on both sides that way. Currently it's going to print the active sheet. That would be sheet 1 that we've been working on. And if we want to print specific pages only, we can specify that right here. So let's say for whatever reason you just want to print page 2, you would set it up like this. But if you don't do that, it's going to print all the pages on that active sheet. If I drop the list down here, I can also print the entire workbook. That means that any sheets that actually had printing on them, it would actually print. I could also print a selection. That would be, let's say I just want to print Australia and I had selected it before I came in here, then I'd be able to print just the selection. The next thing is the printer that you're going to be printing to, and you have all these choices available. This would be how many copies of this would you like. And then when you're ready, you would actually hit the print, and this would print right out the exact way that you want it. That's how printing is going to work. All of that has to do with your page setup and print options. We're going to wrap up Module 5 now, and let's move over to Module 6, where we're going to talk a lot about adding some rows, some columns, and cells into some of your existing workbooks. I will see you over in Module 6.